Hello everyone, my name is Maheshwari. I'm working as GL in Commerce at TTWRDC Min Sangareddy. Today we shall discuss the concept of management and principles of management, that is Fayol's principles of management. So let us start our today's session. First, let us try to understand what do you mean by management. Whenever we hear this word called management, we often think that this word management is actually being used in the big business organizations. That's not at all true, because management is not confined only to business organizations. It is the word management we often use in our day-to-day lives, right? Because whenever we are talking to our friends or with anyone else, we usually use this word saying that manage, I will manage this, I will not manage it, I'm not able to manage that. So what do you understand whenever you are using this word called manage? What do you understand by that? And one more thing, whenever we think about the manager, we think that manager is only working in the big business organizations, but that is also not at all true, because we ourselves, every one of us, each one of us are playing the role of manager in some or the other, right from the small kid. Because everywhere, just imagine at night when we go to bed, we start planning for next day. That is, at what time we have to finish our work and reach our workplace, or a student has to go to his college. That is, here what is happening, we are planning our time management. That is, we are going for our time management. Similarly, money management. Any family, they run a month with a salary. So there, the money, that is the salary what they're getting, with that salary, they put little bit of money aside for savings, and the balance amount is being utilized to run the household course, that is whatever are the requirements for that particular month, say groceries or etc. They run the family with that available money. So here they are going for money management. So you should agree, that is, you should now agree with me saying that yes, management is being utilized. See here, management is part of our daily lives in many ways actually. Yes or no? Because are we not playing the role of manager in a daily lives? If this manager or management is not confined only to business organizations, rather this is part of our daily lives. Now let us go to definition of management. There are many definitions been given for management, but there are two famous people who have given the major contributions to management. One is F.W. Taylor, who is called as a father of scientific management, and the second person is Henry Fayol. He is said to be the father of administrative management. So let us see what is the definition been given by these two famous people. F.W. Taylor is saying that management is knowing what you want to do and then see that they do it in the best and the cheapest way. So here in simple words, let me put it down in the simple words. F.W. Taylor is saying management is the skills wherein you are making the other person do the job, do the work assigned. For example, a father, if he wants any work to be done, say he has to go and buy any vegetables from the market. He just imagine that someone at his home has told him, he has given the task that he has to go and get vegetables or arrange the vegetables at home. Now it is the father who is actually asking his son to go get the vegetables. Now son is following the instructions of the father. He's going to the market, bringing the vegetables, handing over the money to the father, giving out all the details, and then going back again in his regular activities. So here what happened, the father, he is playing the role of a manager. What did he do? The work assigned to him is to go and arrange vegetables at home. Now he, as a manager, he had made that work to be done by his son. So here he is making it sure, see here, what you want to do, and then seeing that they do it in the best and the cheapest way. because here after son is coming back and then he is giving all the details about the shopping, that is vegetables cost, etc. Everything he's giving the details, handing over the balance amount of money. And then here the manager, that is the father, is able to make sure that he's doing the work. Many children, they even think that this at home, usually parents, they ask children to do some work and children usually avoid it. Many of the children, they even say, even back reply saying that you sit quietly and keep ordering me. This is what is regularly been used. But here, just understanding one thing is that parents are playing the role of a manager and they're making us learn things, because we are going to be the future managers. Once when the parents are going to leave the world, here the children are going to become future managers. Then they will be acting as a manager and they will again control, or they will again make the things to be done by their next generation. So this process of management is actually a cycle. It's actually a cycle. So anyways, the definition given by F.W. Taylor, I hope it is clear. And next, coming to Henry Fayol's definition. In Henry Fayol's definition, Henry Fayol is saying management is nothing but to manage. That is, to manage, what do we have to do? We have to first forecast it, then to plan it, organize, to command, to coordinate, and then to control. That is, we have to forecast what do we actually want. Then we have to plan it, how we have to reach that goal. That is, here forecast is nothing but it is the goal. Then planning, it is the bridge you're building between what you want and where you are and where you want to go. The next coming organizing, that is whatever you're planning, you started building your organizing. Once the organization, everything is set right and people are in their positions, then the managers start commanding. Commanding is nothing but it's not ordering, of course, but it is giving instructions. It is motivating the subordinates by the superiors, making it sure that they are completing the work given to them. Then next, it is to coordinate. It is the duty of the manager that he should make sure that all his subordinates, they are working together, they are coordinating with each other and they are working it. And at last, to control again, here is nothing that they're controlling the activities, they're controlling the subordinates. It is about making it sure that what you have at the time of plan, whatever the budget you have prepared it, that is it matching with the actuals. For example, just imagine this two, I'll just give you a brief explanation. For example, just in your exam, that is students in their exam, if they are actually planning to get 85 marks. So what, once once the instructions, that is exam has been conducted and the results are out, and then at that time they will check it out. Just imagine they have planned to get 80 marks or 90, say 90. And what are the actual marks? Say it is 80. That means here the planned, that is budgeted, is 90 and actually is 80. So why is this difference of 10 coming? Is there any lack in preparation? Was the child not good health? Was a child not with a good health? So these all parameters you have to go through, why there is a differences, what is the reason for this deviation, and then you start working on this deviation. And if at all it's more than 90, well and good, the plan what you have prepared it, then it is said to be a successful plan. So based on this, if there is any negative deviation, then of course keeping that negative deviation in mind, again you will go and prepare a fresh plan. So this is again, that is Henry Fayol's definition is again giving you the proper explanation for the, that is proper explanation saying that management is a cycle. So even F.W. Taylor as well as Henry Fayol are saying that management is actually a cycle. So here meaning of management, here management, the same discussion it is. Management is an art of getting things done through and with people in formally organized group to accomplish organizational goals. Now here it is from the point of view of organization. And then next, this definition that is giving more clarity to the definition given by Henry Fayol, that is management is a process of planning, decision making, organizing, leading, motivating, controlling to achieve the set of objectives. One thing common in these two explanations is even F.W. Taylor's explanation, even Henry Fayol's explanations, both are talking about organizational goals and objectives. So one thing you should understand, that management, anything, whenever we start managing, first thing is goal. That is objective. First, we have to think about the objective, what has been kept forward. Just a simple example. Again, let me repeat the same example. Night when we go to bed. So morning's planning, that is morning's preparations, morning management, what we are doing, our ultimate goal is what? Our ultimate objective is to reach our workplace, say college, or say the some office, that is to reach it at 9 o'clock. So that is my organizational goal. That will be in my mind. Keeping that in my mind, I start doing my entire process over here. So I hope you have understood what do you mean by management. Now here we shall go to the next part of our session, that is principles of management. So in principles of management, first, this principles of management, we are discussing about Henry Fayol. Now, who was this person called Henry Fayol? Let us understand. Yes, Henry Fayol, he was called as father of administrative management. That is, he is father of administrative management. Who was this person actually, Henry Fayol? Henry Fayol was a French mining engineer, later turned into a leading industrialist and a successful manager. Actually, it has been said that at the age of 19 itself, Henry Fayol, he had joined an organ, that is a mining industry. And then once his, after few years, after few years, it's been said that particular industry was running into losses. It was actually moving. It was actually called as a sick industry also. And it was due to Henry Fayol's practical experience. Due to his practical experiences, he made it sure that practical managerial skills, he had put his managerial skills in it and made sure that business is actually been running into a positive, that is into a profitable business. So the same business had in turn became a leading business. Later on, this person, that is Henry Fayol, he became the managing director of this particular industry. Anyways, his lifelong experiences and all, that is whatever managerial skills he has put it down in order to run this business successfully, that is he has converted a sick industry into the profitable industry. So how well he was able to convert it, his entire experience was put in a monograph, and this experiences only is nothing but it is principles of management. This monograph, this was later, that is in 1916, it was actually printed in French language, but in 1929 it was translated in English, and at that time the whole, that is the entire world has come to know about these principles, which has been worldwide accepted wholeheartedly. Let us start with Fayol's 14 principles of management. Here are the 14 principles of management, that is, see here, you have authority, discipline, order, division of work, unity of command, stability of tenure, equity, remuneration, scalar chain, initiative, subordination of interests, unity of direction, e-spirit, D-corps. Then you have centralization. So these are your 14 principles of management, which in detail we shall go through now, one after the other. First principle is division of work. Division of work is nothing but, in the picture you can actually see here, each worker has a specific task it has been set. See here, work is divided into small parts. Why do we divide this work into small parts? Because this leads to specialization. Now here I'll just give you an example. Just imagine that there is a person, there is a manufacturing industry for a bike, a motorbike. So here what is happening, everyone are not doing everything for that particular motorbike. There is a separate department. There is a separate department who manufacture handles. There is a separate department who manufacture engine for that motorbike. There is a separate department who manufacture seats for that motorbike. So here in this way, what is happening for one particular task, for one particular job, what is happening? We have divided that particular work into small parts. Yes or no? We have divided that work into small parts. Why? Because a specialized person, one person doing the same job repetitively leads to specialization. So here, based on that, what is happening? We are we are actually achieving this specialization. So once the employee or the subordinate, he is specialized in the assigned task, automatically with this, what is happening? The efficiency of the employee is improving. With this, when the employee's efficiency is improving, then definitely the business automatically it is running successfully. So here division of work, here what Fayol is saying that as whatever work is assigned, you first divide that work in small parts based on its nature, that is based on its specialization. Based on that, once the job, that is whoever is good in that particular job, that is the right person for the right job, whoever is good in that job, assign him that duty. Once that job is been, that is once that work is been assigned to him, he starts doing that work repetitively. Based on this, what is happening? He is leading to specialization. Now this specialization definitely will improve the efficiency of the employee. With this, definitely the business is running efficient, that is the output whatever is coming. For example, the example what we have taken, that is the motorbike. Now motorbike is really giving a, that is output of the motorbike is efficient, that is a good motorbike, quality wise, every angle wise, it is going to be a best quality motorbike. Your second principle is authority and responsibility. What do you mean by authority here? So here authority means the power or right to give orders, make decisions and enforce obedience. In simple words, we can say that authority is something which is associated to that particular position or a chair. That is, if the person, any person sitting on the chair automatically gains that authority, that is he has the power or right to give orders, he has the power to make decisions, at the same time and enforce obedience. He can make sure, he can enforce that his subordinates are obeying all the rules, all the orders, all the rules and regulations, at the same time following the orders given by him. Next comes responsibility. Responsibility is nothing but it's the natural outcome of the authority. See here, it is an obligation to perform the task. That is, whatever is the task, automatically when some job has been given to you, automatically you start making sure that you are actually completing the task. It is your duty to complete it. So in this point, I have given the picture of a weighing machine here, where it is given, that is, it has to be balanced. Just imagine if at all one side is been set as authority and the other side has been given as responsibility, both has to be balanced equally. Just imagine one person, that is one manager, though he has got authority, he has got power, right, everything, but he is not responsible towards his job, then that authority is of no meaning. That authority doesn't matter at all. And just imagine a person is given a responsibility, he has to complete a job, he has to complete a work, but that person is not given sufficient authority, then that responsibility is of no use. So what is been said in this principle by Fayol is that when authority is given to one person, responsibility should automatically follow it. That person should automatically feel, see here, it's a natural outcome. He should feel that I am responsible towards this job, towards my task assigned. And if at all any person is given responsibility and he is not able to complete it without a sufficient authority given to him. So we say that authority and responsibility should go hand in hand. It should be equal. There should be a proper parity or balance between these two. Next comes discipline. Discipline means, here he has given you this word discipline, regularly we use in our daily lives, that is we want to maintain a disciplined life, disciplined lifestyle. So here in this principles, what Fayol is saying, that discipline is nothing but sincerity. Be sincere towards your job, be obedient towards your job, and respect the authority, that is your superior. He is talking about subordinates. Respect the authority and observance of rules and regulations, that is you have to follow all the rules and regulations. These all things comes under discipline. So here the picture what I've given you, you can see here all the subordinates are here and the superior is standing here along with a hunter in his hand. So you must be thinking, how far is this discipline been good enough? So here it's nothing but what has been said by Fayol, that see, these all things has to be followed. If at all any of these things are not followed, any of these points are not been followed, then the superior has the authority to punish his subordinates. Here, of course, it's not through Hunter, but it is some or the other way. Maybe he can demote them, or maybe he can suspend them, but some or the other way punishment should be given. Why? Because the mistakes what has been done by them, this should not be followed by the other co-worker. Because if the same thing is continuing by one person to another person, then we can't expect that is indisciplined environment will exist in the organization. So with this, what happens? The organization, you can't expect that the organization will run efficiently. Then there will be no time that that in the short time there will be a downfall of the organization. Discipline is very, very important in any organization. Unity of command. So here, unity of command, here I have underlined one word called one superior. That is, every subordinate should receive orders only from one superior. Just imagine there is a student and there is 2 English teachers to that child. And 2 English teachers are explaining, just say that they are explaining a grammar part. One English teacher is explaining the same topic in one way, and the other English teacher is explaining the same topic in the other way. So here the child will get confused, yes or no? The child will get confused saying that which teacher is saying correct and whose instructions should I follow. So it is very, very important in the organization also, subordinates, when they are doing the job, it's very, very important that only one superior should be there. If they're receiving orders from 2 superiors, that is more than one superior, then definitely this will lead to confusion. See here, if the same subordinate receives orders from more than one superior, it leads to confusion. So if this is continuing, if this leads to, if subordinate is confused, then you can't expect a good output for whatever kind of a work has been assigned. It's very, very important that you should make sure that your subordinates is very clear in the instructions, that is what instructions he has to follow in order to complete that task. So in order to avoid this confusion, it is very important that you should go for unity of command. Unity of command is nothing but it is saying that one superior. Next, coming to unity of direction. Here, unity of direction is nothing but it is one head and one plan. Here it is just, it's not similar to what do we call about unity of command. It is unity of direction. Direction here in the sense one plan he's saying. So again, let me continue saying that, just imagine a maths teacher is there. He is actually there. He is giving the instructions to his students and saying that one problem can be done in method 1 and other teacher can be done even in the method 2. Again, there is a confusion arising. There will not be any uniform. See here, uneven output. If more than one plan is initiated, this will lead to uneven output. For example, one more thing, just imagine there is some event to be conducted in the college or in any premises. So wherein we are actually discussing about how to arrange this event, and just imagine a simple flower for decoration has been done, wherein that is, you can do it in this way, you can do it in that way, is the crafts teacher explaining it. There is plan 1 and plan 2 is there. Now the student or the children there, they're actually doing plan 1 or plan 2. So in this way, can we expect any proper even output? That's not possible, because there will be 2 different type of flowers coming as an output, which is not same. So here in unity of direction, what Henry Fayol is saying that there should be one head. Of course, one head should be there, one superior should be there, and with one plan. Don't confuse your subordinates with more than 2 plans, more than one plan, sorry. The next one, subordination of individual interest to general interest. So here, what is individual interest? Individual interest, see here, what is individual interest? That is individual growth. I want to get more amount of salary. My salary should be increased. My position should be increased. I should get more promotions. I should be able to represent myself there. This is what is our individual goals and all. Now, what is this organizational goals? Organizational goals, that is general interest, is nothing but the organizational goals overall. So here, what here has been trying to say is that individual interest should be given less importance and larger group, that is general interest, should be given more importance. That is, individual interest, Fayol is not saying that you don't concentrate on your individual growth, your individual interest. You should make sure that you are growing enough, you are going for a very higher that is successful position. But of course you have to, whenever there is a clash between this individual interest and general interest, it is very, very important that you should think about the general interest, because in general interest there are large group of people who are associated with this organization. So in that situation, if it comes that you have to sacrifice your individual interest also, then you should forego it. See here, if needed, individual interest should be sacrificed over the group or general interest. That is more important. That is, make sure that always general interest, that is your organizational interest, your organizational growth should rule out, that is your individual interest. Next comes remuneration. Here remuneration is nothing but it is the price what you're paying, that is been paid to the manager or the workers for services rendered by them. So here in the picture also you can actually see here the salary has been paid here, right? This salary has been fixed based on the work assigned to them. See here, it should be fair and satisfactory salary to both the employees and employers. First and the foremost thing, make sure that is the right amount of salary is been paid to the worker or employee. Now you're paying the salary for 8 hours and you're making that worker to work for 10 hours, then second day that worker will leave that organization, definitely, because you're exploiting that worker. So see to it that a fair amount of salary has been paid to him. At the same time, make sure that the employer is satisfied. Here employee has to be satisfied. At the same time, employer also has to be satisfied. So here fair amount of salary should be paid to the employee, and employers should be satisfied when this amount of salary, this amount of remuneration is been paid to these employees. Okay. Next comes centralization and decentralization. So in this centralization and decentralization, what do you actually mean by centralized? When all the powers is vested in one hands. Decentralization, when this power is been divided, this power is been distributed in the lower organizations, in the lower levels rather, not organizations, lower levels. So here the explanation is given. First, I'll go through for centralizations. Here it has been said, everything that decreases the role and significance of subordinate. Here, the significance, the importance of the subordinates has been reduced. Everything, the whole and soul, the power or the decision taking, anything, orders only can be given here by the centralized, that is by one head sitting here. What do you mean by decentralized? Here, everything that increases the importance and role of subordinate. So here increasing the importance means here these people, that is these subordinates, are actually being given more importance. So here this becomes the decentralized activities. So the best example, now let me explain you, the best example is banks. Banks, there are many banks who are functioning, that is what is the main activity, what is the main function of the bank is they accept deposits from the general public and they give it to the again general public only in the form of, that is they lend to the general public in the form of loans. So this activity has been done by many banks. There are nationalized banks, there are privatized banks, there are many. But one thing is, who is having the right to print the currency? It is in the hands of RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, no other banks. So this printing the currency in the hands, which is in the hands of Reserve Bank of India, that becomes centralized activity. And then decentralized activity becomes what the other banks are doing, say SBI or Bank of Baroda or many other banks are there, that is accepting deposits and lending it to the general public in the form of loans. So these things, these activities and many more activities, of course, many more functions banks are doing, and they are performing it. But these two are the main thing. So here we can understand, see, what are we saying? See, to achieve best results, there should be proper balance between both. So here, if what Fayol is saying, you don't give all the powers to the subordinates. At the same time, you don't retain everything, all the powers with yourself. See to it that even subordinates are able to, that is even their importance, they should also feel, they should have the sense of feeling that we are part of this managerial functions, we are part of this management only. So whatever is little bit less essential, pass it on to the, that is to the subordinates. That is, you decentralize it. That is power, whatever power you have, you decentralize it. And which is most important, which is more confidential, which is most essential for the company's growth, which can't be given to any other person, which can't be leaked out to any other person, you centralize that activity. So this is how you have to go for a proper balancing method. Now next comes your scalar chain. What do you mean by the scalar chain? Here there is a picture. See here, what is scalar chain? It refers to the line of authority from the highest to the lowest executive. See here, highest to the lowest executive. Highest here, A is the highest authority, and lowest, see here, you have two departments here. One department where the authority, it comes from A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E. And there is other department, A to P, P to Q, Q to R, and R to S. So in this way, this highest to lowest executive, this scalar chain is running. And with this, what is happening to the lowest executive? And in this organization, for what purpose? For the purpose of communication. They're communicating with each other. You can see here the arrow marks coming down, and in the same way this communication is going up, that is arrow marks going up. So now here there is something called as gangplank. What is this gangplank? So now whenever they want to actually communicate with the other department, this is the process which they have to go with. So this is the process which they have to run actually. That is, if suppose say C has to contact R, so C will inform this to B, B will go to A will go to P, P will go to Q, Q will go to R. And from R again, the information will come back in this way only. So this is actually the formal thing. But what is this gangplank? See, that's what, see, for the quick action, this all will take a long process. That is, it's a time consuming. So in order to make sure that there is a quick action, there is no wastage of time, gangplank is also allowed in the business. That is, D and R, that is, or C and R or D and R, they can directly contact each other. But of course, this they can do it only by informing to the prior superior. That is, D have to inform it to his superior, that is C, and R has to inform to his superior Q. After informing them, after taking their permission, only these two people can contact themselves and complete their assigned tasks. This is just to make sure that the smooth functioning of the business is running, and very important thing, no wastage of time. For the quick action, for the immediate action, they do this. That is, this gangplank has been allowed. Next comes order. Whenever we hear this word called order, we generally think that order is nothing but, that is, we are ordering something or we are commanding someone. So here, Fayol is not talking about that order. Fayol is actually talking about arrangement of material order and social order. He's saying, what that is, he's saying that every person or everything has got its own place, has got its own place. Now, every one of you all, even at your home also, everything is arranged in its own place. Now, you can't keep your kitchen equipments or kitchenware, whatever is your plates, etc., glasses, in your bedroom, right? Because that will go in the kitchen only, in the kitchen cabinet only, where glasses has got its own place, plates had got its own place. So similarly, even in the business also, what Fayol is saying, that material order, see here, he's talking about material order. Everything should be properly organized. See, can you see this? Everything properly organized, arranged. All the files should be arranged properly. Whenever you're taking out any file is being taken out, the property file, if at all it's coming out, once you use it again, it will go back to its own place. That's what Fayol is saying. Everything and every person has got its own place. When you're combing your hair, again, it will go back to its own place. That is, the comb will go back to its own place, right? Only then only your home is said to be an organized home. Similarly, even at office also, it's said that a tidy office should be maintained, so that in future there will be no confusion and there will be no misplacing of the documents, no misplacing of the material order. All the essential material or all the essential files will be arranged, that is, will be in our control only when it has been properly arranged and it has been properly organized. Then coming to the social order. Social order, here he's trying to talk about the person. See here, the right person should be given the right positions. Now you can't assign someone who is good in the management skills, that is someone who is good in the finance activities, that is good in managing financial things. You can't make him the manager of the production, because he may not have a proper production skills. He must know what kind of a raw material has been used for what product. He doesn't knows anything about it. So how can you expect that that person who is good in finance, he will be able to do the production job perfectly? So make sure that the right person has been assigned in the right place. So that's what arrangement of the people and things is what is giving this principle, that is Fayol is saying that this principle is actually explained. Next comes equity. Equity over here, I hope this that is name itself is saying all are equal. This is what, see, everywhere managers, very important, very prior thing is he should make sure that all his employees are their focus is on the goals. Their focus is on the goals, and don't try to differentiate, don't try to show any kind of a partiality. See here, this principle implies a sense of fairness and justice to all. When one employee is doing any mistake, you're punishing him, you're laying down any penalty. When the same mistake has been done by the other employee, then the same rule out should come out to him. That is the same kind of a punishment, same kind of a penalty should be laid down on him. Because if you're trying to show, that is if the manager is trying to show any such kind of a difference, then automatically what happens, groupisms will be forming in the organizations. Once this groupism is forming in the organizations, then you can't expect that your business will be running efficiently, because they will be other time, anytime they'll start fighting it, unnecessary issues, they'll be getting into unnecessary issues, difference of opinions will raise, and very importantly, they lose interest in the manager itself, because and they'll not feel like to follow any instructions given by the manager. Ultimately, what will happen, the organizational goals is what will be affected. See here, this makes an employee loyal and devoted towards the organization. If you're fair enough, if you're seeing that all your employees, if you're if you're looking at all your employees with a fair view, with a impartial view, then definitely your employee will be loyal towards you, and he will definitely be devoted. That is, whatever instructions has been given by you, he will definitely, very sincerely, he will be following. Next comes stability of tenure. In stability of tenure, here the two words are there, stability and tenure. Tenure here, it talks about term, and stability means stable. That is, at one place he is able to be retained. So here it is very important, it is very important on the part of the management of any organization, retain your productive employees. Retain your productive employees. So make sure, first give them a job security. That should be your higher priority. That should be that retaining your employees are your actual assets. That is very important. If they are new enough, give them desirable amount of time. That is, enough amount of time should be given to them to prove their efficiency. In the very first instance, if at all the person is not able to, if the person is not able to prove himself in the very first in the very first instance, if at all the person is not able to prove himself, give him second chance, but give him enough amount of time so that he is able to prove his talent. But that doesn't mean that you will just ask him to leave, and again the other fresh employee, again the other recruitment process, again it will be starting, and the same thing repeats. Then how many employees will you be able to take out of the business? Because high employee turnover reflects inefficient management. High employee turnover in the sense that is very soon employees are coming in and they are leaving the organization. This is not at all showing a good reflection on the performance of the management. This is very important, that this part, that is the management should retain its employees very smartly, and with a devoted way. They should make sure they're taking care, they should take care of the employees so that they're able to give their best out of, that is, best talent. One more, the other side of stability of tenure is, whenever there are, even at the time of recruitment also, it's very important that the management, when they're recruiting their employees, they should select such kind of a person who is good enough, who is actually good enough, though he is semi-skilled, but his turnover, that is his background, you should check it out. That is, how many companies did he work and how frequently he's changing the job. Because with this, you will be able to know that how stable tenure he is able to survive in one particular company. So with this, you will be able to know that whether Once he joins your company, he will stick to your company, or he will move as soon as he's getting a higher offer in the other organization. Because this all process, what happens is, you're recruiting the person, and then you're selecting that person, you're giving a orientation, you're training him, and once the person is supposed to work, he's supposed to give his productive, that is, he's supposed to give his actually production output to the organization. At that time he is going out. Then in this way, what is happening, your money has been wasted, and time invested on him, that is also wasted. So the right person at the time of recruitment itself, the right person should be selected. Next comes initiative. Here initiative is nothing but, see here, a manager should allow his subordinates to show their initiativeness in respect to the completion of tasks assigned. It's very, very important that the boss, that is the superior, he should not think that everything, whatever he speaks, the subordinate has to follow it. He has to follow. Why? Because he's a boss. He can't say that. If at all he is in the friendly way, some task has been assigned, he is giving his opinion, he's giving his plan out, he's sharing his plan with his subordinates, and at the same time he's asking his subordinates, if you have any other plan, you come out, speak, let us share. So, and when these people, that is subordinates, are made to express themselves, subordinates are made to express themselves in this decision making, in this preparing plan, or in this deciding which kind of a plan, in what way we are going to complete the task, automatically what is happening, they will have a sense of feeling that we are part of this management, we are part of the managerial decision. So here one thing is, they'll definitely feel connected to the job assigned, connected to that particular boss. And next thing is, they are indirectly being prepared, they are indirectly being preparing themselves, or this manager is preparing his subordinates for the future manager, because tomorrow when these subordinates will become manager, even they will be able to take up these decisions, and they will be able to implement their plans, decisions in their next, that is assigned task, when they will become managers. So initiative is nothing but, managers should always welcome the opinions, always welcome the ideas of the subordinates. So this initiativeness, let them come forward and express whatever are their points, whatever are their discussions. See here, this strengthens the efficiency of the organization. It's very, very important that this will definitely, because once the subordinates are feeling connected to the organization, connected to the top management, they'll not feel like to leave the organization, because they feel themselves as very secure. They feel themselves that there is the opportunity, because the boss is giving me the opportunity. So I will definitely be able to, that is, I have a lot of scope to grow myself. That is, there is a lot of scope for my growth in the organization. This is what is actually been given here in this principle that is said by Mr. Fayol. The last principle, that is E-Spirit D Corps. E-Spirit D Corps is a French phrase. This is the French phrase, as it is, you know, that Henry Fayol, he was born in France, so definitely he was using, that is, he wrote everything this in French language. So this is a French phrase. This is nothing but union is strength. In simple words, it is nothing but, it is team spirit. There should be a proper team spirit, is what has been said. So he's saying that this is actually a foundation. Of course, yes or no, in anywhere you go, right from your family itself, until unless we stand united, no one will make us fall, right? So it is very, very important that we should stand united. That is, this strength, that is teamwork, is very, very important in order to achieve any kind of organizational goal, any kind of a task assigned. And it is the very, very important thing is, it is the role of a manager, it is a duty, rather it is a duty of the manager, that he should make sure that his subordinates are not forming any kind of a groups. And again, one more part is, avoid the dirty policy of divide and rule. Manager should, for his own smooth functioning, for his own development, he should not think that I will divide and I will rule. So in that way, what is happening, if you're dividing and ruling, then definitely groups will be forming, and unnecessary, again, strikes, etc. will go forward, which will again lead to the shutdown of the business. Unnecessary strikes and all, if at all we are going in, definitely this is going to shut down the business. So these all things you should not allow it, because at last, by such kind of a politics, etc. and all, at last what is happening, you're disturbing this unity, you're disturbing the unity of the employees. So it is the duty of the manager, even there is any kind of issues raising among the employees, it is very, very important that managers should keep an eye on these employees and make sure that these employees are again clearing out whatever are their misunderstandings, their differences, and they're coming again together and they're becoming one, so that they are working together for the betterment of the organizations, for achieving the organizational objectives. So with this, we have finished our 14 principles of management. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.